Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that a copy of an article in this morning's Washington Post entitled "Full Transcript of Biden's Special Counsel Interview Paints Nuanced Portrait. The President doesn't come across as absent-minded as Hur has made him out to be."
Without objection.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes now recognizes the gentlelady from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Hur, for being here today. I found your report very interesting, and I learned some things about it. The law and the precedents. There are clear differences between the cases and precedents set by Presidents Reagan, Trump, and Biden. Now, it was widely known that President Reagan kept diaries from his presidency that included classified information. What I didn't know and learned in your report was that the Department of Justice, quote, repeatedly described the diaries in public court filings as Mr. Reagan's personal records, unquote, and that no agency ever attempted to remove his diaries. That's on page 195 of your report. Very interesting. So the investigation found that President Biden believed that his notebooks were his personal property, including work and political notes, reflections, to-do lists, and more that he was entitled to take home. You found that on page 232. So while much of his notebook was work-related, he still had some purely personal subjects like, again, I quote, gut-wrenching entities about the illness and death of his son, Beau, and that's on page 82 and 253 of your report. So it's clear, based on the Reagan precedent, that no criminal charges were warranted in this matter relative to personal notebooks. Now, I want to be clear that although the notebooks contain some very personal information and President Biden considered them his personal property, the President allowed your team to seize and review all of the notebooks you found. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, that's in stark contrast to ex-President Trump's case. He obstructed and diverted all the investigations. Now, you also interviewed President Biden about other classified documents you found outside his notebooks, didn't you?
Yes, Congresswoman.
So did the President tell you that he believed any documents other than his own handwritten work were his personal property? Yes or no?
We did not hear that from the President during his interview.
So again, it's very different from ex-President Trump. Ex-President Trump said all of the documents marked classified were his personal property. President Biden did not consider documents that were produced by other entities with classification markings as his personal records. Now, I think, since the majority has tried to assert that there is a disparity based on politics in the differences in the prosecution, it's worth quoting page 11 of the report, which says, and I quote, "Several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's case are clear. Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it." That's on page 11. Quote, "In contrast, Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his homes, sat for a voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation." It's clear that these cases are not the same. And frankly, I was surprised to learn that some of the classified documents were actually personal diaries that many executive officials have taken home with them because it was in their own handwriting, it was what they produced. And based on the Department of Justice public statements during the Reagan administration, it is understandable that a person could believe that their personal diaries that they produced were not to be turned over, just as President Reagan did not turn them over. So I appreciate your report. I appreciate your being here, Mr. Hur. And I would also like to ask, Mr. Chairman, a unanimous request to include in the record a September 11th letter from the Special Counsel to the President to Special Counsel Hur, and also a letter to Merrick Garland.
Without objection.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I see my time has expired, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields